Well, happy nearly 20th anniversary, Halo, and Xbox in general. Man, what a hell of a ride it's been for this franchise. Like, so today I decided I'm gonna be going over, reflecting a bit on memories that the series has given me, both good and bad. And this is kind of where we're at. Like with E3 coming up, I kind of wanted to reflect on it before we start getting all the big blowout on Infinite. Then launch. In like just months later. So, well, let's start with the big one. Halo Combat Evolved. Silent Cartographer. I mean, what can you say about Silent Cartographer? One of the most iconic levels in Halo history, and for good reason too. You know, just really like, I mean, it's clearly 343's inspiration for Infinite's level design. It seems based on what we've seen so far and heard. So Halo Combat Evolved, like one of the best games that I say one of the best shooter. I guess one of the best shooters ever. Just because of how iconic it is and what it's done for the gaming industry, revolutionized, FPS controls on console, introduce introduce a brand new universe that is so mysterious, you know, especially later on in the game when you encounter the flood on, Guilty 3 for 3 Guilty Spark, man. Like I get goosebumps when I hear that music. Like when you see all that blood as you approach the room where they were released, like man, I remember getting freaking nightmares as a kid. Like that was literally a freaking nightmare. Like and I mean, who can forget like the worst mission design in the game? I say the most hated mission in the franchise, really, the library. Man, that mission was it's so hated, and for good reason too. Especially on legendary, man. Like, so not to mention, like the multiplayer Z is just so much fun, so much fun. Like Blood Gulch, you can't go wrong with that. So I always imagine how big CE multiplayer would have been if Xbox Live existed when in 2001 when it came out, because after Live came out they never added, well, updates weren't a thing back then on console games, so we had to wait for Halo 2 for online multiplayer on Halo. So man, imagine how different it would have been if CE had online multiplayer right from the get go. So, you know, come on, LAN parties, like man, like Halo put Xbox on the map because it was so amazing. Like so many memories from CE. Like I could never get tired of playing Halo CE over and over again. Like there's always like you can there's like different pathways you can pick, especially on Silent Cartographer. So especially this mission right here, because you can just go straight to the map room and you know and try to get into it, only for it to come to lock you out. Or you could do what I did and just skip that part. Make the mission go by faster and just go straight for the security room. So like just so like it's just so amazing. I can't say enough about CE because of the impact it's had on gaming in general. So okay, Halo 2. Well, Halo 2 certainly was one of, the console game that started, like, made online multiplayer big. Like, real, like, huge. With online multiplayer, Halo 2, freaking, they introduced us to the Arbiter as, we could see the other side of the war, the Covenant, and things aren't as genocidal as we were led to believe with them, because like they actually have a actual society, you know, what the prophets, the elites, the brutes, grunts, you get the idea. Drones, not only that, introduce new weapons like the battle rifle, SMG, you know, and really like it really started to like you start seeing the cracks within the Covenant because of politics within them. Like with the prophets, think that the elites can't protect them anymore because Chief killed Regret. So ultimately led to the Covenant's demise because of their rash decision to have the brutes kill them. So really like now multiplayer part, man, like so many iconic which is a remake of Blood Gold, Zanzibar, Lockout. It set the stage for esports in the Halo series. So because of such map design, how great the gameplay loop is of Halo 2 is, playable elites, dual wielding. Like Halo 2 was so revolutionary when it came out. So I always wonder how different Halo 2 would have been if it didn't have that development cycle that it did. Especially with that cliffhanger ending. I really wonder how different the Halo franchise would have been if if everything went through with Bungie. Everything went according to plan for them. So now on to Halo 3. What can I say? What can I say about Halo 3? Further expanding on what made Halo 1 and 2 so great, and expanded upon with a new equipment system like the bubble shield, invulnerability for campaign, if you can get it, flare, plus iconic maps like Guardian and Valhalla. Guardian, man, that's my favorite map of Halo 3 from, a 4v4 standpoint. Introduce the world to Forge and file sharing, like all these community features, like it really made like what the series kind of what it is today, really. And regarding the story, like it really made everything come to a proper conclusion with with Chief being put back to sleep until should humanity need him again. So, and I know some people think that it should have ended there, but like I think Halo 4 kind of had a good direction. That's flawed. That had flaws, but because of the proper way of storytelling through 3 went with 4 and 5, but I mean, always think that there still would have been, a good pathway, I guess, pathway forward for the Chief. Speaking of which, Halo 4. What can I say about Halo 4? Like, I think the game should have not focused so hard on the visuals because they had to take cuts. Because of the visuals looking so good on the 360 back in the when it came out, they had to cut corners in level design. Like there was just so many cutbacks, level design, AI, like instead of like moving the series forward with expanding upon Halo 3, they used Reach's gameplay loop a little bit, and kind of went further with it. So that's what led to, kind of the gameplay really of 4 being so both 4 and 5's. No, I'll talk about 5 later. Anyway, like 4 had such a great story. I really loved how it explored the relationship between Chief and Cortana, something we didn't really know about. Something that people who only play the games didn't really get to experience until 4 because that was only a thing strictly to the books. Now the argument could be made like they should have told it better because people who probably didn't understand, probably who didn't read the books, they probably didn't understand who the Didactic is or what he is, you know. So it kind of like they should have, I guess done the writing better, if that makes sense, before, so that people weren't as confused as I'm sure people were when Halo 4 came out because of that. It's because it relied so heavily on the expanded lore, and that you had to read like certain novels to fully understand the story of 4. I mean, like I'm deep into the lore, so it didn't affect me, but I can understand for people who aren't how Halo 4 would have been confusing. So, so in all, Halo 4, I think it's a good slash. I think Halo 4 is a decent campaign with its great story, but the gameplay loop of Halo 4 was like, I guess, boring at times. So it got boring at times, but I will say it was pretty cool to be able to use a pelican and a broadsword and hit in 2 Halo 4 missions. I thought that was pretty cool, like something that we didn't see, we didn't get to use before. So that aspect, that was really darn cool. So, and for Halo Infinite, I would love to see the sticky detonator come back because that is such a trolly weapon. It is so sweet to use to get revenge when someone kills you in multiplayer. Like, that was so deadly. It was so fun to use that. It really was. So I hope it comes back. That's one weapon I want back. Because it was fun to use and bittersweet when you actually pull off a kill with it. Because it was really cool. So, all in all, Halo 4, I think decent for 343's first entry into the franchise. All in all. So, surely it could have been a lot better, but it wasn't too bad for me. For me anyway. I know people have different opinions, but that's okay. Okay, Halo 5. What can I say about you? Alrighty then. Where do I even begin with Halo 5? Bad campaign in terms of writing and overall plot, but decent multiplayer, I would say. Especially in the Forge department. I think Halo 5's Forge is easily the best in terms of feature set, but the controls got a little complicated, so I imagine Halo Infinite will expand upon that, but that's a different story. Like there was just so many missed opportunities with Halo 5's character development because I feel that obviously better writing would have fixed, it didn't, it essentially ruined Halo 4's ending. With the whole bringing Cortana back and making her some kind of, emperor or whatever, but like, why? Like, that made no sense. Like that goes against her character as a whole. Like, that just boggles my mind. Like, why did you do that, 3v3? I don't get it. I will never understand that. Hopefully, they pull something out of their butts for Infinite because, like, it needs to be addressed because they can't just sweep it under the rug. I know they said they're not, thank gosh, thankfully. So this mission right here, San Helios, the Sword of San Helios, I think it's the best campaign mission out of Halo 5. I really do, in terms of its level design and how fun I think it is. Like, because I don't really play Halo 5 campaign that much because of how bad it is from a plot standpoint. But level design of like Sword of San Helios and some other missions, I think are really fun. So it's fun to play, but the story is so boring. Just because of the terrible writing. There were so many missed opportunities to explore the backstory of Osiris and the rest of the members of Blue Team because we've always people have always felt who only played the games that Chief was the last Spartan. So until Halo 4, everyone always felt that, who weren't into the lore, like most hardcore Halo fans are. So that obviously made it a problem, starting with 4 and 5, expanded on that. But at the same time, it was confusing for people who weren't into the lore so much, who only played the game. So I think that's another reason why Halo 5's campaign is so bad from a story standpoint, because you have to rely on the expanded lore. You have to read, what books do I have to read? Why do I have to watch this animated movie to further understand, who Blue Team is? Why? Why couldn't you just have a codex or whatever? So for people who want to understand about who these characters really are. So thankfully, with Infinite, they don't seem to be sweeping 5 under the rug, because I think that would set a dangerous precedent for the lore, and I don't want that to happen. Thankfully, they're not, it seems. So thankfully, I just hope for a much better story in Infinite. And by the looks of things, we definitely are heading that direction, it seems. So, okay. Now, conclusion. I really love. I have so much passion for this franchise, and I'm really, really looking forward to the future of this franchise with Halo Infinite. Especially once we see new gameplay at E3, and then it's just full steam ahead. It seems like until launch. With flighting, and then we actually get to play it, and then this holiday, the game seemingly is actually coming out after 6 years. So I just can't wait for E3 now. So anyway, I'm okay. I think I went on long enough. So thank you for tuning in. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.